California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, "Who do you want for president?" I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know.
Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher just shredded Gavin Newsom into political confetti, skewering his ego with sarcasm sharper than California's tax hikes. From his obsession with image to a string of policy slip-ups, they didn't merely roast him, they ripped straight into the moment. His polished speeches and confident pledges suddenly felt paper-thin under their steady stream of humor. If you thought his public image was smooth before, just wait until you hear how effortlessly they joked through the cracks in his political storyline. This wasn't routine commentary. It felt like a full-scale comedy takedown.
The party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them.
Today, the Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex as
Greg Gutfeld didn't simply stroll into the studio that day. He walked in like someone ready to joke about California putting a tax on sarcasm. Before long, Gavin Newsom became the prime target, and Gutfeld arrived loaded with every jab, joke, and punchline he could muster. With that trademark smirk, he launched into what he dubbed the Barbie Governor Chronicles, painting Newsom as a picture-perfect Malibu politician, glossy on the surface, packed with plastic charm, yet somehow missing the basic manual for common sense. It didn't feel like standard political analysis. It felt more like open mic comedy ripping the moment to pieces.
Newsom lurks outside the White House like a greedy relative in the parking lot of a hospice. Maybe he is the perfect replacement for Joe. Just like him, the corruption is baked right.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon for more updates. Greg Gutfeld kicked things off by joking that Gavin Newsom might be the first politician trying to transform an entire state into a luxury wine commercial. According to Gutfeld, California under Newsom didn't feel focused on leadership. It felt centered on brand management. He compared Newsom's approach to someone spraying air freshener inside a burning house. Homelessness was climbing. Crime was rising. But Newsom, he quipped, seemed busy talking about the ozone layer while stepping over problems right outside City Hall. To Gutfeld, it looked like confusion wrapped in a designer suit.
He's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't? What's a condom? But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans.
Greg Gutfeld questioned how someone could talk endlessly about carbon emissions while overlooking sanitation issues on the streets of San Francisco. He pointed to what he framed as an obvious contradiction. Gavin Newsom frequently talks about saving the planet, Gutfeld joked, but sometimes runs California like an eco-friendly cousin of Lex Luthor. He also mocked how Newsom lectures farmers about water use while the state pours millions into flashy projects that, in Gutfeld's view, wouldn't survive a Hollywood script meeting. And he wasn't done highlighting the irony.
Snake motherfucker. I don't know how to describe it. You see what he just did there, and Bill got it right. Somehow it's snitching if the parent finds out. If the teacher says, oh, your kid has been going by other names and changing pronouns and dressing up this way, you don't know about that as the parent. That's the snitch. It's the parent's job to raise.
Greg Gutfeld joked that Gavin Newsom's hair seemed to have more structure and funding than California's public schools. The man's got more gel than solutions, he laughed, adding you could practically hear it crunch under the weight of his confidence. Gutfeld said listening to Newsom can feel like watching a TED-style talk hosted by someone who just discovered Wi-Fi, plenty of hand gestures, a polished tone, and oversized vocabulary, but not much substance. He compared it to stuffing an encyclopedia into a fortune cookie, giving it Botox, and calling it leadership. According to Gutfeld, Newsom's speeches could cure insomnia, perfect for anyone who thinks watching paint dry is still too thrilling.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
And don't get Greg Gutfeld started on Gavin Newsom's climate fixation. He described Newsom as the kind of leader who could stand in front of a burning Walgreens, smoke filling the air, and still pin the blame on climate change. Gutfeld joked that Newsom seems to tie rising sea levels to everything: crime, traffic, even power outages. Let him talk long enough, Greg quipped, and he might even find an energy explanation for his hair highlights. Then, he pivoted to what he called Newsom's pandemic hypocrisy, reminding viewers how the governor told Californians to stay home while he dined privately at one of the city's most upscale restaurants. Gutfeld said it wasn't just bending his own lockdown rules, it looked like he waltzed right past them. Meanwhile, many residents were leaving California like passengers abandoning a sinking cruise ship. Greg joked that if Newsom were a lamp, the building would be empty while he stood outside handing out glossy flyers about how great the neighborhood used to be. Businesses were departing, families were relocating, and Newsom, he said, kept talking about equity as if it were a slogan instead of a solution.
It was looking bad there for a while, and we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever I read 80% of the water goes to agriculture, almonds.
Right.
No one ever, today, the Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school
Right.
have changed their gender, their pronouns.
Right.
That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense.
Right.
Now, if that's your state,
Yeah.
how are you?
I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
We're talking about their parents.
But
How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't, but what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex as the teacher.
Greg Gutfeld joked that the only business still thriving in California was the U-Haul industry, and even they were running short on trucks heading east. Then Bill Maher stepped into the discussion wearing his trademark calm, like someone who'd just come from a dinner party where Marxism popped up between bites of kale. When it came time to roast Gavin Newsom, Maher didn't ease up. He opened with a dry swipe, calling Newsom the physical embodiment of what some liberals picture when they imagine competence. But beneath that polished, confident exterior, Maher argued, was leadership powered mostly by green slogans and carefully packaged guilt. He mocked Newsom's serious delivery, saying, "Gavin talks like someone coming back from a deep soul-searching retreat, except he forgot to actually locate the soul." Maher added that the message sounds inspiring at first but fades quickly, like excitement draining away during a rolling blackout. His sharpest line? That Newsom's greatest political skill might be convincing Californians their hardships are actually proof of moral superiority. "You're not suffering, you're sacrificing," Maher joked, mimicking Newsom's tone, and somehow people bought it. "Living in California," he said, "can feel like surviving a failing system with a gorgeous view."
The show, okay? And the man who made it acts like he had nothing to do with it. Yeah. It's pure government grift, shoving you down a flight of stairs and then making you pay for the handrail. We've been lied to for years that homelessness is all about affordable housing. Fentanyl isn't the problem, it's that loan officer at the bank. Yet as we walked to work, we never saw families or kids, just men. So strung out on fentanyl, they look...
Bill Maher mocked how Gavin Newsom treats electricity like it's a hazardous substance that needs strict rationing, right after using it to illuminate every conference room in sight. He rolled into another batch of climate jokes, wondering how a state drowning in sunshine still manages to end up literally and politically in the dark. Maher called Newsom's policies the political equivalent of cutting off your own arm to fix a hangnail, dramatic, excessive, and ultimately pointless. He also targeted Newsom's presidential aspirations, saying the governor shows more ambition than results. Maher compared him to a reality show contestant who thinks he's winning while the audience is already reaching for the vote-off button. "Gavin thinks he's the future of the Democratic Party," Maher said, "but he's really just a sleek new label on the same old bottle of coastal elitism." From housing to education to healthcare, Maher noted that Newsom always has a poetic way of describing problems. He just never seems to circle back to actually fixing them.
Wasn't just ignoring the problem, he enabled it because Dems were in a woke crouch, terrified of their loony base. But now that he's seeing the White House, he's got a brand new act, a common sense centrist. Just a soccer dad in khakis, fed up with crime and chaos. It's all bull. A costume, a political drag show, and the kids this drag queen is...
Bill Maher tore into Gavin Newsom's education record like someone whose patience had officially expired. He pointed out that California's public schools rank somewhere between disastrous and please homeschool your kids, yet Newsom somehow finds more time criticizing other states than repairing issues at home. Maher joked that Newsom resembles the substitute teacher of American politics, charming and sharply dressed, but totally unable to stop the classroom from sliding into chaos. His closing jab targeted Newsom's crisis leadership: hold a press conference in front of a golden backdrop, toss out buzzwords about bold new ideas, then exit without answering a single question. Maher compared California's homelessness strategy to a game of whack-a-mole where the mallet is a government grant and the moles just get pushed a few blocks away. Greg Gutfeld piled on, saying Newsom throws money at problems like a DJ flinging glow sticks into a black hole, flashy, energetic, maybe entertaining to watch, but useless while everything else stays dark.
The wildfires. Gavin blames climate change, but it was his corrupt bureaucracy. Since the Palisades fire, which destroyed 6,000 buildings, only 4 permits have been issued for rebuilding. Did climate change cause that? Hell no. So like the fires, Newsom let homelessness run wild. He allowed tens of billions of dollars to be swallowed up by a maze of consultants, nonprofits, and bureaucrats who create...
Greg Gutfeld went after Gavin Newsom's crime approach, joking he's like a lifeguard giving diving tips while the pool is full of sharks. Under Newsom's leadership, Gutfeld said California seemed to turn leniency into law and accountability into folklore. "Crime isn't illegal anymore," he scoffed. "It's just misunderstood. If your car got stolen," he joked, "you weren't a victim, you were part of a social experiment." Bill Maher jumped in with his own swipe, saying Newsom governs like hugging the problem will make it disappear. He mocked media spin, adding that if Newsom tripped over a traffic cone, headlines would call it bold urban exploration. Maher said the media stays wrapped tightly around Newsom, rushing in with a safety mat every time he stumbles.
Like the last couple of years, you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state. And I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
When talk shifted to Gavin Newsom's constant smugness, Greg Gutfeld joked it might be California's most reliable renewable energy source. He said Newsom always looks like someone correcting you on gelato versus ice cream, pure unearned confidence with a splash of almond milk. Gutfeld added that if smugness could stop wildfires, Newsom would already be the state's top solution. Bill Maher closed his roast by calling Newsom the love child of good intentions and poor execution. He promises the moon, delivers a glow stick, and acts surprised we're still in the dark, Maher said. He described Newsom as polished but shallow, and joked that if he ever became president, the whole country would feel like San Francisco taxpayers, broke, confused, and oddly proud of the chaos.
Sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his...
And still, neither Greg Gutfeld nor Bill Maher was finished. There was more absurdity to mock and more hypocrisy to spotlight. Gavin Newsom had become their ideal roast target, not just for what he says, but for what he represents. Gutfeld smirked that Newsom's legacy might be a bronze statue holding a reusable shopping bag while everything burns around him. He said Newsom governs like someone who read the Tesla manual and tried to apply it to a dump truck. Maher added that Newsom's California looks like a Whole Foods, sponsored utopia with quiet decline composting in the background. Between the self-congratulation, the decay, and the denial, both men agreed on one thing: